It is the final hours of the G7 summit in Evian, France, and so far, while it's been a meeting of world leaders without major breakthroughs, it's also been one without too many diplomatic headaches either. Donald Trump, forever the wild card at summits like this, acknowledged Ukraine's improved fortunes on the battlefield and signed a unified pledge to impose new sanctions on Russia. Trump then did have some diplomatic momentum when he arrived at the G7 earlier on this week, having secured the framework of a deal with Iran. The agreement is thin on detail, but the other leaders at the G7 have nonetheless thrown their weight behind the US president's initiative, this in a bid to end the conflict and open the Strait of Hormuz. Well, Trump, though, in a meeting this afternoon with the Egyptian president, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, also at the G7, warned that bombing Iran still remains an option.
No, it's not final. It's a memorandum of understanding. And if I don't like it, we'll go back to shooting at them, dropping bombs on their head. If I don't like it, if they don't behave, we'll go right back to dropping bombs right smack in the middle of their head. Okay? Because they've misbehaved for 47 years.
Well, Donald Trump not mincing his words there, and we may well get more from him on Iran later on this afternoon, because we are expecting a press conference from the US leader as well as from Emmanuel Macron, the French president. We'll bring you both of those live when they get underway. Before they do, though, let's speak to Philip Turle, France 24's reporter who is at Evian for this summit. Philip, you've obviously been there since the beginning, following the diplomatic negotiations very closely. What's your sense as to overall how this summit has gone?
Well, I think I'll echo the spokesperson for Emmanuel Macron, who was saying that this has been a very successful G7 summit, certainly from a French point of view. He's been saying it's the most successful summit since 2017. So I think there is definitely a feeling on the French side that one of the major victories is keeping Donald Trump on board. It's well known that Donald Trump doesn't like these multinational affairs, multilateral affairs. He prefers one-on-one democracy, one-on-one talks with world leaders in order to better dominate them. And he awfully walked out of the G7 summit this time last year in Canada, so he's stayed the course. So that is certainly, I think, being seen as a major victory for the French. And the second one, of course, is the fact that the French are pleased that Donald Trump appears to have changed his posture concerning the war in Ukraine, steering more away from Russia and throwing his weight apparently more behind Ukraine now. I think it's been touted to him that Ukraine may have turned the tides on the Russians, and it's now time to back a new winner in this war, not back the loser being Vladimir Putin. That's why Donald Trump has changed his mind, but there are reports also of a deal that has been worked out between the G7 members and Donald Trump, and that's to say, well, look, we will back your agreement with Iran to end the war there, but we will only do that if you will change your posture as far as Ukraine is concerned and throw your weight behind the Ukrainians. And it seems to have worked that Donald Trump is more open to throwing his weight behind the Ukrainians in exchange for support from certainly other Gulf members who've been at this meeting yesterday, notably Qatar and the United Arab Emirates and Egypt, that they will support the deal that Donald Trump has reportedly signed with Iran. We're going to get more details on that at the signing ceremony, hopefully on Friday in Geneva. But in exchange for that, Donald Trump appears to have shifted somewhat his position concerning Vladimir Putin.
OK, so as you say, Philip, then the big geopolitical talking points at this summit have really been Iran and Ukraine. But let's not forget artificial intelligence, because the leaders have been talking plenty about that too.
That's true. That was one of the major topics on the agenda today, and a word of warning from G7 members that they now see that there is a risk of them becoming dependent on the major powers, notably China and the United States, for artificial intelligence, and that is not something that they think is a good idea. The reason being that Donald Trump, ahead of these talks, decided that Anthropic, one of the two main AI organizations in the US, would not be able to let foreigners join up and to profit from their artificial intelligence, which means that other countries would have to fill that gap. And I think that is certainly something that the countries here are keen to try to overcome, but also saying that artificial intelligence is one of the great challenges of the future, and we've got to take that on board as much as we did the internet, for example, some 20 or 25 years ago. And there is another issue which has been on the debating table today as well, which is important, and that is protection of minors when it comes to social media and the internet. All the countries, all 7 members of the G7, including the United States, have agreed that youth from the age of 15 or 16 below those ages should not be allowed onto social media. The UK has already taken the necessary steps to introduce a ban on that. France has indicated that it could be willing to also introduce a ban on young people having access to social media below the age of 16.